You know that feeling when someone slides a piece of paper across a desk and your whole world just stops? Like everything goes quiet, except for your own heartbeat pounding in your ears. That's exactly what happened when Diana Brooks from HR pushed that document toward me with her perfectly manicured fingers. 47% pay cut, effective immediately. I just sat there staring at the numbers like they might rearrange themselves if I looked hard enough. I'm Robert Harrison, by the way, Bob to most folks. 54 years old, and up until that moment I was the head of operations at Coleman Manufacturing. 25 years I'd given that company. Started when we were 35 people in a converted warehouse, believing we could compete with the big industrial manufacturers. Hell, maybe we did for a while. I didn't lose it in that conference room, didn't raise my voice or slam my fist on that cheap particle board table. I just smiled and said I'd need 24 hours to consider their generous offer, like a good company man. Like I hadn't just been gut shot by people who were about to destroy everything I'd helped build. The breakdown happened in my truck in the parking lot. Sat there for maybe 45 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to process how a company decides someone with 25 years of experience is suddenly worth less than half what they paid him yesterday. Because that's what it was. $85,000 down to $45,000. You do that math and tell me it doesn't feel personal. See, my son Michael is 18, smart as a whip, wants to study mechanical engineering at State. That's not cheap. And his college fund took a hit when his mother Patricia and I divorced 2 years back. She moved to Denver with some attorney who drives a BMW and talks about wine varietals. Left me with the mortgage, the college planning, and a kid who still asks why mom had to go find herself 1,200 miles away. Let me back up. Coleman Manufacturing wasn't always called Coleman Manufacturing. We started as Precision Part Solutions back in 1998. My uncle Gary Harrison was the founder, one of those old-school manufacturing guys who understood that quality work speaks for itself. I was employee number 12, brought in to handle operations for our main production floor. Those early years were something special. Working late shifts, troubleshooting equipment breakdowns, the whole startup dream. I wasn't just managing operations. I was building the foundation everything else stood on. By year 10, I had my hands in every major client contract we supported. By year 15, I was the guy they called when production lines went down at 3 a.m. By year 20, I was basically running the technical side while Uncle Gary Harrison handled business development. The processes I developed weren't just procedures. They were enterprise-grade manufacturing systems handling millions in production annually. When Westfield Industries needed their legacy equipment integrated with new automation, I designed the protocols that made it possible. When Alpine Manufacturing required 97.8% uptime for their automotive parts, I built the redundancy systems that delivered it. This wasn't small-time manufacturing. This was mission-critical production that kept multi-million-dollar supply chains running. Then Maxwell Industries showed up with their acquisition offer. Uncle Gary Harrison called an all-hands meeting in our break room, standing up there with this forced smile, telling us how exciting this next chapter was going to be, how Maxwell's resources would help us scale to the next level. Everyone applauding while I sat there wondering why Gary couldn't look any of us in the eye during his speech. Turns out Uncle Gary Harrison walked away with $3.8 million, fully vested golden parachute. The whole package. The rest of us got our positions restructured with new reporting requirements that basically reset everything we'd built. First 6 months after the acquisition weren't terrible. New uniforms, different safety procedures, more meetings with people who used words like optimization and lean manufacturing. But I still had my team, my production lines, my salary. I kept telling myself things would settle down. Then the efficiency reviews started. They called them operational assessments. Like that made it sound less like an execution list. Started with the newer folks, easier to cut loose without severance complications. Then middle management. Each round came with a company-wide email about streamlining operations and leveraging core competencies. Each round meant another empty workstation the next morning. My team went from 12 people to 6. Our production quota didn't decrease. If anything, it got heavier as we absorbed work from the eliminated shifts. I was pulling 70-hour weeks, taking calls at 2 a.m. when equipment failed, troubleshooting line stoppages that would halt client operations if not fixed immediately. Michael started asking why I was always at the plant, why I looked so tired all the time, why I couldn't make it to his robotics competitions anymore. Still, I figured I was safe. I was managing production for clients that brought in 65% of our revenue. These weren't just accounts. They were systems I'd personally optimized, processes I'd developed, safety protocols I'd written from scratch. The efficiency improvements that had saved them millions over the years. That was my playbook. They needed me. At least that's what I told myself right up until Diana Brooks scheduled that operational realignment meeting. Should have known something was wrong when I walked in and saw Spencer Wright sitting there. Spencer with his MBA from Wharton and his designer glasses, sent from Maxwell Corporate to optimize post-acquisition integration. Guy was maybe 32, looked like he'd never worked a production floor in his life, but somehow he was now making decisions about manufacturing operations that had taken me 25 years to master. Bob, he said, never called me Mr. Harrison. We've been analyzing the organizational structure, and we see an opportunity to realign your compensation with current market standards. Market standards. Like I was some commodity they'd priced wrong at a yard sale. Diana slid the paper across. The new salary was right there in bold, $45,000 down from $85,000. This reflects the evolving nature of your role. Spencer continued like he was doing me a favor. We're centralizing most operations functions at headquarters. You'll be transitioning to more of a regional production support position. Translation. We're taking your authority, your projects, and most of your paycheck, but we still need you to keep the lines running while we figure out how to replace you with someone who'll work for peanuts. You'll maintain oversight of current production during the transition period, Diana added, not meeting my eyes. We understand this is a significant change, so we need your decision by tomorrow. If this new structure doesn't align with your goals, we'll need to begin immediately searching for someone more suited to the role. Someone cheaper, she meant. They knew about Michael's college plans. They knew about my mortgage payments. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a calculated execution designed to make me quit without paying severance. I need 24 hours, I said, keeping my voice level despite the rage building in my chest. I have some questions about the transition timeline and reporting structure. Spencer nodded, pleased with my professionalism. Diana looked relieved I wasn't making a scene. They probably expected me to just take it, another old-timer who'd roll over rather than fight. I don't remember walking back to my office, don't remember packing up my hard hat or clearing out my coffee mug. I just remember sitting in my truck, hands shaking, wondering how I was going to tell Michael that State University might have to wait a few more years. That's when my phone rang. Oscar Reed, my old colleague who'd left Harrison about 8 months earlier to join Pierce Manufacturing. I almost didn't answer. Didn't feel like pretending everything was fine. Bob, he said, I've been trying to reach you all week. Have you checked your messages? I hadn't. Too busy keeping production lines running and putting out fires that Spencer's optimization strategies had created. The guy had suggested we could save money by reducing maintenance schedules. I'd spent 3 hours explaining why that would be catastrophic before he finally backed down. Listen, I'm at Pierce now. You know they're Maxwell's biggest competitor in the industrial space, right? My boss Howard has been asking about you specifically. We need someone with your operations experience. Would you be open to a conversation? I looked through my windshield at the Coleman Manufacturing building, at the Maxwell logo they'd slapped over our original sign like a corporate colonization flag. Thought about Spencer and his market standards. Thought about Uncle Gary Harrison probably sipping drinks on some beach in Florida with his $8 million. Actually, I said tonight would be perfect. I drove home in a daze, mind racing. I wasn't naive. I knew what calling Maxwell's biggest competitor would mean. There'd be no going back, but they'd already decided I was disposable. What exactly did I owe them at this point? After Michael went to bed, I pulled out my employment contract, spent an hour going through the fine print with a magnifying glass. No, non-compete clause. Harrison had been too small and family-oriented when I joined to bother with those restrictive agreements. Maxwell had updated contracts for newer hires, but hadn't gotten around to us legacy employees yet. Their legal oversight was about to become my golden opportunity. At 9:30, I called Oscar back. Can you set up a meeting with Howard tomorrow morning before I have to give these people my answer? That bad, he asked. Worse. They want to cut my salary by 47%, but keep all my responsibilities. Actually, they're adding more. They want me to train offshore replacements while pretending it's a promotion. Oscar was quiet for a moment. Those idiots have no idea what you're worth. Give me 15 minutes, I'm texting Howard right now. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. Bob, this is Howard Pierce from Pierce Manufacturing. His voice was direct. No corporate nonsense, just straight business talk from someone who understood the manufacturing side. Oscar tells me we need to meet first thing tomorrow morning. Yes, I said. I think we might be able to help each other. I'm guessing Maxwell is finally doing their post-acquisition house cleaning. Something like that. How's 7:30 a.m.? I can meet you at Murphy's Diner, away from both our facilities. Oscar says you have a decision to make tomorrow. 7:30 works perfectly. After we hung up, I sat on my couch for a long time, staring at nothing. Was I really doing this? Was I really about to jump ship to the competition? But it wasn't a ship anymore, was it? It was a sinking vessel, and Maxwell was throwing people overboard to save weight. I opened my laptop and pulled up my project files. Not the official documentation that belonged to the company, but my personal notes. 25 years of operational decisions, process improvements, safety protocols, client relationships that only I knew how to manage. Knowledge that wasn't confidential exactly, but was incredibly valuable. The production systems I designed could handle twice the throughput of anything their offshore team could build. The safety protocols I'd developed had prevented major accidents and saved millions in insurance costs. The vendor relationships I'd cultivated had secured favorable contracts and priority service that kept our lines running when competitors faced delays. I'd built these systems. I'd earned this expertise through decades of 3 a.m. emergency calls and weekend troubleshooting sessions. Tomorrow I was going to find out what the market really valued it at. I checked on Michael, watching him sleep for a few minutes. Engineering textbook stacked on his desk, acceptance letter from State's summer engineering program pinned to his bulletin board. I'm going to fix this, I whispered. And for the first time in months, I actually believed it. Didn't sleep much that night. Kept thinking about what I was about to do, whether I was being impulsive, whether I was being disloyal. But loyal to what? A company that no longer existed except as a line item on Maxwell's quarterly report. People who saw me as nothing but overhead they could cut. By morning, I knew exactly what I was going to say to both Howard Pierce and Spencer Wright. Murphy's Diner was quiet at 7:30. Just a few early commuters with coffee and newspapers. Howard was easy to spot, tall, graying at the temples, dressed casually but well. Oscar sat next to him, gave me a small wave when he saw me walk in. Bob Harrison, Howard said, standing to shake my hand. I've heard a lot about you. From Oscar, obviously, but also from just about every client we've tried to win from Harrison over the years. I smiled. Well, those clients might be more open to conversations now. Howard's eyebrows raised. Is that right? Why don't you sit down and tell me exactly what's happening over there? So I did. All of it. The acquisition, the culture shift, the way they were gutting institutional knowledge while expecting the same results, the impossible workloads, the pay cut, the barely disguised plan to offshore everything within 24 months. I told them about Spencer Wright's suggestions to reduce maintenance schedules and eliminate redundant safety checks, changes that would save money right up until they caused catastrophic failures. Howard listened without interrupting. When I finished, he glanced at Oscar. Then back at me, Bob, he said. We've been waiting for you to call us for about 3 years now. That sentence hung in the air. I took a sip of coffee, buying myself time, because suddenly this wasn't just about saving my job. This was about something much bigger. What exactly does that mean? I asked. Howard leaned forward. It means we've tried to recruit you twice in the past 3 years. Each time your loyalty to Harrison won out. But Maxwell doesn't deserve that loyalty. And frankly, we're prepared to make you an offer that shows exactly how much we value your expertise. He pushed a folder across the table. Inside was an offer letter. Vice President of Manufacturing, $88,000 base salary, 15% annual bonus potential, full health coverage, profit sharing, plus a $20,000 signing bonus if I could start within 2 weeks. I stared at the numbers. It was $3,000 more than I'd been making at Harrison, almost double what Maxwell was offering. Why? I asked. Why this much? Howard didn't hesitate because we've lost 4 major contracts to Harrison in the past 3 years. All production systems you optimized. Because our research tells us that when clients work with your operations, their uptime is 97.8% compared to an industry average of 94.8%. Because I've personally had 3 operations managers tell me they stay with Harrison because of you. He took a sip of his coffee. You're not just a manufacturing manager, Bob. You're a competitive advantage. One that Maxwell is too stupid to recognize. That's when it clicked. Here was someone who understood exactly what I brought to the table. There's one more thing, Oscar said quietly. Tell him, Howard. Howard nodded. We've heard rumors that Maxwell is planning to move all production operations offshore within 24 months. They're using these pay cuts to push people out so they don't have to pay severance. My stomach dropped. How do you know that? Their new VP of operations came from Tecton Industries. He ran the same playbook there 2 years ago. Cut salaries, increase workloads, then announce the offshore transition once people quit or get fired for cause. 24 months. They weren't just cutting my pay. They were eliminating my position entirely. They just wanted me to train my replacement first and document all my processes so some team overseas could follow a manual. I need to pick up my son from practice at 3. I said, but I can come see your facility right now. I'd like to meet the team before I make a final decision. Howard smiled. Absolutely. We'd like you to meet them too. 3 hours later, I walked back into Coleman Manufacturing with a signed offer letter from Pierce in my bag and a plan forming in my mind. Their production team was impressive. Senior managers who actually understood manufacturing operations, not just efficiency metrics. They had real problems that needed solving, and they respected the experience required to solve them properly. Spencer was waiting in the conference room looking impatient. Diana sat beside him with a folder marked with my name. Bob, Spencer said, not bothering to stand. Have you made your decision? I sat down across from them, placed my hands on the table, smiled. I have some questions first. Spencer sighed dramatically. We really need a simple yes or no today. As we explained, we're restructuring the entire operations division. I understand, but I manage production for your 8 largest clients. I'd like to know who's handling the Westfield contract renewal next month and the Alpine expansion in July. Spencer waved dismissively. We'll distribute those responsibilities appropriately. That's not something you need to worry about anymore, actually. I do worry about it. I promised Sarah Torres at Westfield that I'd personally oversee their expansion integration. Isaac Porter at Alpine specifically requested my involvement in their contract discussions. These aren't just accounts, they're relationships I've built over years. Those are company relationships, not personal ones, Spencer said, his voice hardening now about our offer. Is it true you're moving all production operations offshore in 24 months? The color drained from Spencer's face. Diana suddenly became very interested in her folder. Where did you hear that? Is it true? That's confidential company planning. So that's a yes. I leaned forward. Were you planning to tell me that before or after I accepted a 47% pay cut to train my replacement? This meeting is about your current compensation package, not hypothetical future restructuring. Spencer said tightly, do you accept the new terms or not? I took a deep breath, thought about Michael, about 25 years of my life, about production systems that would fail without proper oversight because some offshore team didn't understand the legacy equipment. I quit. Spencer blinked. Excuse me, I quit. Effective immediately. He recovered quickly, his face settling into a smug smile. Company policy requires 2 weeks' notice from senior staff. Check my contract, I said. The original Harrison contract that was never updated after the acquisition. Notice periods are equivalent to severance periods. Since Harrison never offered severance beyond 1 week, that's my required notice. The smile faltered. You'll need to transition your operations. Actually, I don't. My contract also states that in the event of compensation reduction exceeding 15%, all transition requirements are waived. Uncle Gary Harrison added that clause after Jerry Williams quit and tried to hold production hostage for better terms. You might not remember that since you weren't here, but I helped Gary draft that language. I stood up. Oh, and I've accepted a position with Pierce Manufacturing. Since Harrison never implemented non-compete agreements and Maxwell never asked me to sign one, I'll be starting there Monday. Spencer's face went completely blank, which was somehow more terrifying than anger would have been. You've just made a serious mistake, he said quietly. We'll be reviewing all your communications and client interactions. If we find even a hint of poaching or information theft, we'll bury you in litigation. I haven't taken anything that doesn't belong to me, I said. My expertise, though, the knowledge I've built over 25 years, that belongs to me, and I'm taking it with me. I walked out before he could respond, heart pounding. My remaining team was waiting at my workstation. Ashley Morgan, Lucas Fisher, and 2 others. The last survivors of what had once been 12 people. Is it true? Ashley asked. You're leaving. I nodded, seeing the fear in their eyes. They knew what was coming next. What about us? Lucas looked terrified. He had a mortgage and 2 kids. Check your emails in an hour, I said quietly. All of you. I packed quickly. Family photos my world's best dad mug Michael had given me last Father's Day. 25 years of my life in one cardboard box. Security escorted me out. Company policy for senior departures, they said, like I was suddenly a security threat. Like I hadn't built half the systems keeping their operations running. In my truck, I made 3 calls. First, to Howard. I've quit. They took it about as well as you'd expect. We'll have legal ready, he said. Don't worry about any threats they make. Second, to Uncle Gary. He picked up on the 4th ring, sounding like he was on vacation, somewhere warm. Bob, what's wrong? Maxwell just tried to cut my salary by 47%. I quit and took a job with Pierce. Long silence. Then, those idiots. The acquisition wasn't supposed to go like this. They're threatening to sue me for accepting another job. I need you to remind them that you never implemented non-competes at Harrison because, and I quote, if we don't treat people well enough to make them want to stay, we deserve to lose them. Gary sighed. I'll call Adrian Cole at Maxwell myself. This isn't right. My 3rd call was to Sarah Torres, Operations Director at Westfield Industries, our biggest client. Bob, perfect timing. We need to accelerate the expansion timeline by 3 weeks. The board is demanding faster deployment. Sarah, I'm not with Harrison anymore as of today. The shock in her voice was audible. Where are you going? Pierce Manufacturing, Howard Pierce's company. Long pause. Is this because of the Maxwell acquisition? We've been worried about service quality since that happened. Response times are up 30%, and we've had 2 unscheduled outages. It is. They're making major changes, including removing me from your account. Without consulting us? Another pause. Bob, this expansion is critical. The board is watching personally. We specifically requested you in the contract. I know. I'm sorry I can't see it through. Don't be sorry. Send me your new contact info at Pierce. We need to discuss our options. By the time I picked up Michael from school, I'd received 18 text messages and 27 emails. 8 from my former team forwarding directives from Spencer about maintaining production continuity. 1 from Uncle Gary Harrison, confirming he'd spoken to Adrian Cole directly. The rest from clients who'd somehow already heard I was leaving. Dad? Michael climbed into the truck, immediately sensing something different. Why are you picking me up? It's Tuesday. I turned to look at him. This brilliant, determined young man who deserved better than a father, always stressed about work, always checking his phone during dinner. I left my job today, I said simply. His eyes widened. The one that made you work all the time? The one that kept you from my competitions? My heart twisted. Of course he'd been keeping track. Yeah, that one. Good, he said firmly. I didn't like how they treated you. You looked sad a lot. I got a new job, I told him. One that pays better and actually values what I do, and I won't miss any more competitions. He considered this seriously. Will you be able to help me with my state application essay? Front row seat for that too, I promised. We'll make it the best engineering application they've ever seen. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Robert Harrison? Yes, this is Adrian Cole from Maxwell Corporation. I understand we have a situation. My blood went cold. The founder and CEO of Maxwell calling me personally. Mr. Cole, I suppose we do. Gary Harrison called me. He's very upset about how you've been treated. I've also received calls from Sarah Torres and Isaac Porter, both expressing concern about your departure and suggesting they may need to reconsider their vendor relationships. I waited, letting him fill the silence. Mr. Harrison, what would it take to bring you back to resolve this situation? I almost laughed. You can't be serious. Very serious. Westfield and Alpine represent over $12 million in annual contracts. If they leave, others will follow. Our projections show it would be significantly less expensive to retain you than lose those accounts. So I'm worth keeping when it costs you millions to lose me, but not when it just disrupts my life. Business is business, Mr. Harrison. No, thank you. I've accepted a position with Pierce, one that recognized my value from the start, not just when losing me became expensive. We're prepared to match their offer, plus a substantial retention bonus. It's not about money, it's about respect. It's about 25 years dismissed without thought because some MBA decided I was outdated. You're calling now, not because what happened was wrong, but because it's costing you. Long pause. What do you want then? I want you to treat the people still there better. I want you to look at what Spencer Wright is doing to that facility and ask if that's really the company you want to build. No lawsuit. You have my word. As for the rest, I'll be visiting the regional office next week. 3 days later, I started at Pierce Manufacturing. Real office with a view, my own team of 15 experienced engineers who actually understood manufacturing operations. Within a month, Ashley and Lucas had joined me. They'd quit Harrison the day after my departure. 6 weeks after that, Sarah called. Westfield was moving to Pierce. The replacement team couldn't handle basic production scheduling, she said. When I complained, they told me my expectations were unrealistic. Isaac from Alpine followed 2 months later, then Richardson Manufacturing, then Dataflow Industries. By 6 months, 4 of my former top clients had switched to Pierce. Not because I recruited them, I was scrupulous about never initiating those conversations. But because relationships matter, expertise matters, and when you've spent decades proving yourself reliable, people notice when you're gone. Adrian Cole kept his word about the lawsuit, but there was complete restructuring at Harrison. Spencer Wright was pursuing other opportunities within 3 months. The offshore transition was quietly abandoned after 2 major safety incidents that could have been prevented with proper oversight. It's been 18 months now. I'm still at Pierce as VP of Manufacturing, leading a team of 15 people. I make more money than I ever thought possible. Most importantly, I haven't missed one of Michael's events. He's starting at State this fall with a partial scholarship for engineering. His application essay about resilience and standing up for your worth apparently impressed the admissions committee. Michael beams when he tells his friends his dad is the VP at Pierce Manufacturing. Last week, he brought his robotics team to tour our facility. Watching him explain manufacturing processes to his classmates, I realized something important. He's not just proud of what I do. He's proud of how I handled being undervalued. He learned that sometimes you have to walk away to find where you belong. Last month, I ran into Uncle Gary Harrison at a trade conference. He gave me a bear hug, told me he was proud of how things worked out. I should have protected you all better, he said, looking genuinely regretful. I thought Maxwell would honor their commitments about company culture. It worked out, I said. Sometimes getting pushed out is exactly what you need. The real victory wasn't the clients who followed me or Spencer getting fired. It was discovering I didn't have to accept being devalued, standing up and saying, no, I'm worth more than this, then proving it. If you're in a job that doesn't respect your experience, remember this, you have more power than you think. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting back at anyone. It's getting out and building something better. Your expertise has value. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Your decades of experience aren't baggage. They're your competitive advantage that younger managers will never understand until it's too late. The moment you stop accepting less than your worth is the moment your real career begins, regardless of your age. Sometimes the companies that claim they can't afford to keep you are the same ones that can't afford to lose you. The difference is timing and leverage. Age isn't your weakness in the workplace. It's your secret weapon, because while they're learning from mistakes, you're preventing them.